Hello and thanks for joining us. This is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I am Solomon Hoffem. First, our top stories. Tinubu grants presidential pardon to Herbert, Macaulay, Vatsa and 173 others. Council of State approves Tinubu's nominee Joash Amukpito as new INEC chairman. National Assembly probes NNPCL over $18 billion refineries spending. Court admits more documents as exhibits in Emefele's alleged $4.5 billion fraud trial. Police arrest 12 suspects over Arise TV anchor's death. On international scene, thousands of Gazans begin heading north as Israeli military announces ceasefire. And in sport, UEFA denies negotiations with European superpower Super League promoters. Those are our top stories. Details coming up in just a moment. We begin the news with story that President Bola Tinubu about President Bola Tinubu granting presidential pardon to one of Nigeria's founding fathers, Herbert, Macaulay, and former FCT minister in the Babangida regime, Major General Maman Vatsa, retired. While Vatsa was sentenced to death over a treason charge in 1986, Macaulay was twice convicted by the colonial authorities in Lagos. In 1917, while in private practice as a surveyor, he was tried for misappropriating funds from an estate he administered and sentenced to prison. Historians have long debated the fairness of that prosecution. Vatsa, a poet, was among the 17 people who received presidential pardons following the endorsement of the National Council of State on Thursday in Abuja. President Tinubu also granted a posthumous pardon to Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroon's NCNC. President Tinubu also pardoned four former convicts, including former House of Representatives member Farouk Lawan, Anastasia Daniel Nwabia, Barrister Hussaini Umar, and Anyila Sadu Alanamu. They were pardoned to enable them to integrate into society, having demonstrated sufficient remorse. Nweke Francis Chibueze, serving a life sentence for cocaine, was pardoned, along with Dr. Nwogu Peters, who have served 12 out of a 17-year sentence for fraud. And the Ogoni 9, led by Ken Saro-Wiwa, were formally pardoned. At the same time, the president awarded national honors to the Ogoni 4 Chief Albert Bade, Chief Edward Kobani, Chief Samuel Orage, and Theophilus Orage. President Tinubu also granted clemency to 82 inmates and reduced the prison terms of 65 others. He gave a reprieve for 7 inmates on the death row by commuting their sentences to life imprisonment. The National Council of State has approved the nomination of Professor Joash Ojo Amukpito as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). This was disclosed in a statement by the Special Assistant to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga. He said that President Bola Tinubu presented Amukpito as the nominee to fill the vacant position following Professor Mahmoud Yakubu's exit. Yakubu served from 2015 to October 2025. President Tinubu told the council that Amukpito is the first person from Kogi, North Central State, nominated to occupy the position and is apolitical. The statement said that the council members unanimously supported the nomination, with Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo describing Amukpito as a man of integrity. He added that in compliance with the constitution, President Tinubu will now send Amukpito's name to the Senate for screening. Born on April 25, 1967, the 65-year-old Amokwiton hails from Ayetoro, Bede in Ijumu local government area of Kogi State. He is a professor of law at the University of Jos, Plateau State. He is also an alumnus of the university. He specializes in company law, law of evidence, corporate governance, and privatization law. He became a senior advocate of Nigeria in September 2014. After completing primary and secondary education, he attended Kwara State Polytechnic Ilorin from 1982 to 1984 and the University of Jos from 1984 to 1987. He was called to the bar in 1988. He currently serves as the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration at the University of Jos, a position he holds in conjunction with being the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council of Joseph Ayo Babalola University in Osun State. The House of Representatives has mandated its relevant committees to investigate the non-functionality of state-owned petroleum refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna, despite the use of about $18 billion for their rehabilitation in the past 2 decades. The resolution of the House followed the consideration and adoption of a motion moved by Lagos lawmaker Oluwaseun Wingan during a preliminary session presided over by the Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu. The federal government owns 4 petroleum refineries in Port Harcourt with 2 plants and in Plant H in Warri and Kaduna. Managed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and NPCL, the refineries have suffered from perennial rot owing to factors ranging from poor administration and vandalism to development that has left the nation with no option but to rely on imported refined product. Recently, billionaire businessman Aliko Dangote argued that the chances of the refineries bouncing back were slim, even as the group chief executive officer of the NNPCL, Bayo Ojulari, stated that selling off the national asset would not be ruled out. Wooing his colleagues in support of the motion, Wingan, who represents the Badagry Federal Constituency, Lagos State, noted that the House was worried over the persistent non-functionality of Nigeria's state-owned refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna. This, he said, was despite over 2 decades of rehabilitation efforts and an estimated expenditure of $18 billion on turnaround maintenance with no tangible results to show. He said the House is worried over the recent public statement by Nigeria's foremost industrialist Aliko Dangote and former President Olusegun Obasanjo expressing doubt over the viability of these refineries and describing the multi-billion-dollar investment as futile, sparking widespread public concern and outrage over potential mismanagement. In 2007, during the administration of President Olusegun Obasanjo, Dangote and other private investors acquired the refineries, but the succeeding administration of President Umar Yar'Adua reversed the transaction, opting instead for rehabilitation using public funds, a decision that has yielded no significant operational improvement. The Special Offense Divisions of the Lagos High Court in Ikeja has admitted more documents tendered as exhibits by the prosecution in the trial of the former Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele. Justice Rahman Oshodi overruled the objections of defense counsels in the case and admitted the documents in evidence. The court also ordered a trial within trial to verify whether the statement of the second defendant, Henry Omoyele, wrote in the custody of the EFCC was made voluntarily. Omoyele, who is standing trial alongside Emefiele and on a 19-count charge of abuse of office, receiving gratification, accepting gifts through agents, corruption and fraudulent property transactions involving $1.5 billion and 2.8 billion naira. At the proceedings on Thursday, Justice Oshodi first admitted in evidence a bundle of documents extracted from the mobile phone of John Adetola, the former executive assistant of the first defendant Godwin Emefiele, during the EFCC's investigation. John Adetola's phone was later admitted as an exhibit, with the court granting leave to the defense to inspect it in due course. Adjourning the matter to December, he adjourned the matter to December 2 and 3, 2025 for mini trial. The Federal Capital Territory Police Command has arrested 12 suspected armed robbers linked to the killing of an Arise News staff member, Somtochukwu Christella Maduagu, and a security guard, Barnabas Danlami, during a robbery attack in Kaduna, in Abuja rather. Arise TV, in a post on its website on Thursday, said the arrest followed an operation led by the Scorpion Squad under the FCT command, based on intelligence provided by forensic firm Giga Forensics, a subsidiary of EIB Stratok. According to Arise, the Commissioner of Police FCT Command ordered a manhunt for the suspect after the September 29, 2025 attack at unique apartment in Gishiri Village, Katankwe District, which occurred around 3:30 a.m. The statement said operatives of the Scorpion Squad, led by ACP Victor Godfrey, arrested the suspect following actionable digital and reconstructive intelligence. According to the report, 12 suspects were arrested in connection with the incident. During interrogation, one of the suspects arrested, Shamsuddin Hassan, confessed to shooting the security guard while attempting to gain entry, while another suspect, Sani Sirajo, claimed he tried to stop Maduagu from falling off the building during the attack. The police added that the remaining gang members were intercepted on Wednesday while allegedly heading for another planned robbery in Maitama, Abuja. The suspects, according to the report, confessed to the crime while the investigation continues. Maduagu, an anchor and producer with Arise News, died during a robbery at a residency in the early hours of September 29, 2025. According to a police report, Maduagu fell from the third floor of a building while attempting to escape the intruders, contrary to initial claims that she was shot. You are currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll head into the news analysis segment. If you're just tuning in, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Joining me to help analyze our news item is Akin Malaolu, President of Yoruba Ronu Leadership Forum. Mr. Malaolu, thank you very much for joining us on the news at 12. Okay, let's go to the first topic for discussion, where President Bola Tinubu granted presidential pardon to one of Nigeria's founding fathers, Herbert Macaulay, and the former FCT minister in the Babangida regime, Major General Vatsa, and 173 others. What do you think of these presidential pardons, sir?
Well, I'm not so fascinated by the pardon, because they turn out to be an odd mixture of some criminals, political prisoners, and all that, and those who fought for Ogoniland cannot be tagged as criminals. They were leaders of conscience who were gunned down by the state. So inside the list, we have cocaine pushers were there, criminals who forged documents or forged, looted the treasuries were there. People who should serve their term are being given a soft landing for political reasons. But thank God they did it now, not when it was closer to the election. It will have been, will have used it to gain more voters. But with their awareness so far now, nobody is particularly excited by some of the people they granted pardon to. Because number one, you can be happy when the system is running smoothly. You can then trust the actions of governments. You can be happy when there are job opportunities. Then you know that the leader who is in charge has in his mind to the improvement of the standards of living. But all of this cannot be seen. So whatever he's doing is like his own drama, which did not catch the fancy of the people. I must confess to you, there has been a lot of doubts about the list that came out. It is from various speakers and lines of cocaine pushers, criminals who are supposed to remain in bar. Then I don't know whether in future the Bello authority will be granted pardon because we have what they call this Boko Haram that have been they turned their mind back from black to white. So it is the president's prerogative to rehabilitated Boko Haram terrorists. So it is his right to grant anybody what he wishes. He has that enormous power. But it depends on the acceptability of what he has done to the general populace. I am part of the general populace. I am not carried away by whatever he has done, granting pardon. My focus is how well are the institutions under his guardians. That is what is almost important, and that is the most important thing we should be looking at in our nation. It is not the drama of the president, it is how strong our institutions are. If our institutions make pronouncements and sentence looters to jail, or terrorists to jail, or armed robbers to jail, or cocaine pushers to jail, they should be allowed to serve their terms for God's sake. But when pardons are given midway into their sentence, that means this is not a nation that is serious about achieving stability and growth of its own institution. It's so unfortunate. Those who are celebrating the pardon, their right to celebrate it. Those some of us, I am still going mournfully about it. I will celebrate it.
It sounds like you think this is a misplaced priority, that you think he better use his time for something else like the insecurity, like the economy, instead of granting presidential pardons here and there.
The president has nothing to do anymore. It is now arms akimbo. So anything you see from yesterday going on will be drama. The economy was lost January 31st last year. Sorry, 2004, yes. It was lost. America described the economy as in shambles. Okonjo-Iweala said the same thing, that you have now stabilized at the bottom. You have come up to $585 billion, you met the GDP. They took the GDP to $185 billion. I'm not say Father Christmas when it comes to talking about my country, my nation, my people. I am a citizen. I'm a very affectionate one. I am not a tribal bigot, nor a religious one. I want to put my knowledge, my education in the betterment of our people, using facts and knowledge to have direct conversation with them, which I am doing now. The president has driven the country to the wall. He has left the country there. He's pursuing other fancies, one of which you saw yesterday, the granting of pardons.
Okay, but you've also haphazardly admitted some of those pardons were necessary. Is it that you just think in the grand scheme of things it was not necessary at this time? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the president has his powers. We can condemn him, we may not condemn him,
No,
but the important thing, the pardon they gave, at least I believe he should not have granted the pardons now.
Let's forget about the constitutional powers for now. He has the power to do that, yes. But if you look at some of the names in the pardon, including, for example, the Ogoni Nine, for example, King Sarawiwa and the others, I mean, it's necessary to grant some of these pardons. Is it that your problem is that he's granting the pardon at the wrong time, or the pardon in the general scheme of things is not necessary at this time? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying now is this: all mixtures of criminals with Ogoni people is wrong.
Oh, okay.
We should not have added Ogoni people to some criminal cocaine convicts, or about Macaulay into cocaine convicts. We should have allowed those who were jailed for for criminally taking money out of their state treasuries to serve their terms. Those who are caught with cocaine to serve their terms. We have to strengthen the institution. If you are going to grant pardon, it should be on political reasons, not on criminal reasons. So really, we shouldn't have gone this route, number one. And if he has to go through this route, he should not have added criminals, cocaine criminals, drug lords into this list. So I do not fancy his style of governance anyway, because of the terrible afflictions of poverty, which he still believe that we should embrace. No, it's no longer possible. He's only amusing himself. He's not amusing the Nigerian people.
Now, the biggest surprise though is the pardon for Herbert Macaulay. I mean, Herbert Macaulay, he's already had quite a number of honors to him. I mean, he already has the name as the father of Nigerian nationality. A lot of streets and monuments have been named after him. Was there still any necessary for him to add a presidential pardon to Herbert Macaulay's name, despite all the accolades that
I agree with you entirely. When you look at the beginning of his government, they changed the national anthem from 2000 and something to 1960. He has gone back to about Macaulay too also.
I mean, we have Nigeria's currency having his face on it.
And he's still there. I don't know what pardon is. What pardons are needed for such caliber of name? You see, putting the cats before the horse has been the style of this government. And one thing which I've always known about how it came up was that he was overrated by the same media that surrounded him. There's nothing particular about Tinubu. Nothing. All these strategies are all painted strategies by the media. I'm on one, we know them. So I have never followed him. I don't belong to his cabal or club. I've tried as much as possible to avoid coming in contact with him since we voted for him in 1999. I left Tinubu's whatever circle without being there. July 1999, I've never joined them since then. And I'm still living. Very healthy. So it's left for them to continue to dramatize their fancy for the mundanes. But the point is, the people are in hardship, they are in poverty, they are in serious pains, and the next election in 2027, nobody can use propaganda to swindle them of votes. That I can assure you of that.
Let's quickly go to the second topic for discussion, where the National Council of State has approved the nomination of Professor Joash Ojuamukweton as the new chairman of INEC. What do you think of him, though?
Before he was even taken to the Council of State for approval, media has been awash about him. You know the usual way of the propaganda team of Tinubu. They know that he will be the appointed one. So they have started painting him white everywhere. But when you look at the person doesn't matter to me other than the president who picked him. This is a president who has weakened all institutions under him, from the military to the lowest. Which institution can we point to that are really doing well under Tinubu's presidency? Even the INEC itself could not do well in the other by-elections, state elections that we had. You know what happened in Edo? Look at the state of the judiciary and bringing this one, Amukweton. I don't know when I read somewhere that he was born in 1967. I don't know.
Yes,
I read somewhere
that's the information we have. He's a 58-year-old born in 1967.
He was born in 1967.
Yes.
He entered primary school at the age of 3, Abi. He finished at the age of 9. He finished secondary school at the age of 15. He did ND at the age of 17. Called to bar at the age of 20. Did you see the distance? How closer they have been? So the point is, more will still be revealed.
I've not had the opportunity to do the mathematics here, but you clearly have done that, and it looks like
yes, I've looked at it. Doesn't add up.
Huh.
And it's unfortunate.
So
if at this stage,
is it that this is going to be another case of age falsification, just like we have a case of certificate forgery?
There's no allegation yet. This is just a newcomer, and in the next couple of weeks or a month, more information will come out about him. Then we can all successfully debate. He himself too will have to defend himself. So the presidency must have to defend him too, or you'll be shown the door. You'll be shown the way out through the back door. Just like Unaji. You know what I mean? Vice President Atiku made a statement about so many forgers in his government, and that the president should open himself for investigation. And when you see Amukweton being one of the counsel for Tinubu at the primaries, you begin to wonder, how will you cope with others? Because others will be given to him. Tinubu will never appoint somebody that will not take orders. That is just the plain truth. I'm reading about a rift between himself and Wike in the newspapers. That Wike will refuse to go for council state meeting because somebody rejected his nominee for this same INEC. True or false, I don't know. But it's there in the public domain. Sahara Reporter made it public. That is a media outlet.
Wow, that means there's still lots of drama to come.
Of course. There is nothing in this government that you can say is strong. You see, when you fault one lie, every other truth that you say becomes questionable. The president put himself in this situation. He was described as the man who built Lagos. He's now the president of Abuja and Nigeria. Has he rebuilt Abuja? Has he rebuilt Lagos or Nigeria? We are in a state of helplessness. And it is showing daily that the people are distancing themselves from the Tinubu-led administration and APC. No matter how many people are joining, those people that are joining will run back to where they came from. I'm telling you this. It won't be for long. It's going to happen. Because there is always an end to every journey like this.
And anyway, his appointment is subject to confirmation by the Senate.
It will be confirmed. It will be confirmed by the Senate. Are they strong? People that could manipulate a state of emergency for rivers through, Shakara Oloji and Wosiwosi. We call it rigmarole, kind of funny way of doing things against the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If the Constitution is no longer a law they can abide to, then that means Tinubu's law is what is holding the nation still. And let us know how long Tinubu's laws will hold down this nation.
Okay, thank you.
It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Malaolu. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Solomon Alfred. Thank you, listeners.
That was Akim Malaolu, president of Yoruba Ronu Leadership Forum. And for a quick look at what's happening outside Nigeria, Palestinians are beginning to return to Gaza's north as the Israeli military says a ceasefire is now in effect. Forces have pulled back to the lines agreed under the Trump plan, the IDF says, but will continue to remove any immediate threat. Hamas now has 72 hours to release all Israeli hostages, while Israel will release hundreds of Palestinian detainees. It comes after the Israeli government approved the first phase of Donald Trump's ceasefire and hostage return deal. Once the deal is operating, 8 trucks will surge in to help Gazans, 2 million people, most of whom have been displaced. Residents in northern and western Gaza City have been left stunned as Israeli forces withdrew from several neighborhoods, revealing unprecedented devastation after weeks of heavy bombardment and demolition. For the first time in weeks, people have entered the Sheikh Radwan, Al-Karama and beach camp areas only to find entire residential blocks flattened, hundreds of homes and much of the area's infrastructure destroyed. Dozens of videos circulating on social media showed residents walking through the rubble and filming what remains of their neighborhoods. Similar scenes were reported across multiple districts vacated by Israeli forces, who had begun pulling back to agreed lines under the ceasefire framework negotiated with Sharm el-Sheikh between Hamas and Israel. Around 700,000 displaced people from Gaza City and the north are now anxiously awaiting for the withdrawal to be completed so they can return to what remains of their homes. Still on international news, New York Attorney General Letitia James has been criminally indicted on federal charges by a grand jury. James, who led a civil fraud investigation against Trump in 2023, was indicted on charges of bank fraud in Alexandria, Virginia, according to court documents. Prosecutors accused James of making false statements to a bank regarding a mortgage loan for a house in Norfolk, Virginia, the document states. In a statement, James accused Trump of a desperate weaponization of our justice system. The U.S. prosecutor assigned to the case, Lindsay Holligan, meanwhile said the case proved that no one is above the law. Trump appointed Holligan, he is a former personal attorney, to oversee the case after another U.S. prosecutor, Eric Herbert, resigned. Herbert was reportedly ousted after he told the Justice Department he had not found sufficient evidence to charge James. The federal government alleges James bought a 3-bedroom home in Norfolk using a mortgage loan that required her to use the property as a secondary residence and did not allow for shared ownership or time shared of the home. The indictment claims the property was not occupied or used by James as a secondary resident, but was instead used as a rental investment property, which has been rented to a family of 3. And on to sports news. UEFA on Thursday denied ongoing talks with Super League promoter A22 Sports Management, but it admitted it had met the body after the promoter told reporters it was negotiating with US to create a new Champions League format. An A22 spokesperson said what A22 and the Super League clubs have done is to propose an agreement to UEFA that essentially consists of providing a free broadcasting platform and making very slight changes to the current competition format. In this version, a far cry from the initial semi-closed competition project that nearly tore apart European football in 2021, the 36 teams currently qualified for the Champions League will be divided into 2 groups of 18 clubs, with the highest ranked teams then competing in the round of 32. UEFA acknowledged several public meetings between its General Secretary Theodore Theodoridis and A22 co-founder Anas Lagrari, but said they produced no official result. There are no plans to change the UEFA Champions League format, UEFA said, having introduced a new format which came into effect from the 2024-2025 season. And just before we go, here again are our top stories. Tinubu grants presidential pardon to Herbert, Macaulay, Vatsa, and 173 others. Council of State approves the Tinubu's nominee Joash Amukbita as new INEC chairman. National Assembly probes NNPCL over $18 billion refineries spending. Court admits more documents as exhibits in Emefiele's alleged $4.5 billion fraud trial. Police arrest 12 suspects over Arise TV anchor's death. On international news, thousands of Gazans began heading north as Israeli military announces ceasefire. And in sport, UEFA denies negotiations with European Super League promoter. And that's the World News at 12. I am Solomon of FM. Do follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at VOP903FM. Good afternoon and thank you for listening.